Welcome, everybody, to our little podcast episode we've been working on with ARMS, which stands for Abuse Recovery Ministry and Services. We're on the web at abuserecovery.org. We have a special guest today named Louise Pistole, and she has a new book out that I'm really excited about because we do a lot of training in our programs about joy and how joy is something that you choose, whereas happiness is situational based. And if we base our happiness on our situation, then of course life is going to very much be like this. So how choosing joy and to be joyful is a choice in our lives. So she has a new book out called Discover Your Joy. Here's a picture of it. And it's a devotional. It's actually a full year devotional, which you don't find as often these days. And it has a short blib for each day, of course, along with a Bible verse and reflection, and I've been enjoying it. So welcome, Louise. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you. So appreciate you coming along.
I'm happy to be here today.
All right. Very exciting. So tell us about, I get the impression there was probably areas in your life where you've had some struggles and some trials, and you've had to really work at discovering your joy in your life. You want to tell us about some of those?
Well, at the time, I didn't realize where my journey would take me. But today, when I look back, I had been through a divorce and the death of my sweet daddy. And my daddy was my rock. Mm-hmm. I was also working very long hours in a stressful career. And all these things led me to know there was more to life and I needed to figure it out. Again, I didn't know where it was going to take me. But today, I have also become good friends with numerous women who have experienced domestic violence and other things along that line. And I come to realize my challenges were very small, I'll say, in comparison to what a lot of other women have experienced, but we're all in a similar storm. We all have our own challenges, whatever they may be, and somehow we have to find the light that will help to pull us out of our challenges so we can move forward.
Yeah, it's I think, as we're raised, it's very common as we're young people and teenagers and children to base our happiness on circumstances, right? Life is good usually when we're young, not for everybody, but usually it's steady. Usually there's good people in our life, and we base our happiness on that. And then boom, you start growing up, right? You have relationships, you have, marriages, and sometimes failed marriages. You have circumstances in life. You have the death of people in your family, and your parents start aging and getting old, and all these things. It's like, I used to push my kids in the shopping cart, and I would always have a middle-aged woman that would come up to me and say, enjoy the time, it goes fast. And I'm just like, I can't get through this time fast enough. I am so very stressed, and I would even think in my heart, what would you have to be stressed about? Well, now I know, having reached middle age, I get it. The stress is there.
That's true. That's true. And the kids and even the grandkids grow up far faster than we think. And there is one story in my book about a particular place here in North Carolina that I wanted to take my young child, and we just never made it. We would plan the trip and it would rain, or, things just kept getting in the way. So my son went off to college. He got married, he had children of his own. I'm back on that bandwagon. We're going to take the grandkids to Tweetsie is what it is. We're going to take the grandkids to Tweetsie. Well, guess what? The grandchildren are teenagers now. So it's like, sometimes we just have to resolve ourselves to, we can't do everything. But we do want to make those special moments with our family. And that's kind of how I concluded that story, is that I hope I've made other special moments that make up for not getting them to Tweetsie. but they do grow up fast, and it does go faster than you ever expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely that it does. Well, you've mentioned some challenges in your life, including a divorce. How did you work on your healing from that? What did you do to get past that? I mean, there's grief with that, right? Even when the divorce needs to happen, you know, at times in relationships, there's still grief and there's still loss to get through. And maybe you could share with us a little bit how you work through those things.
Excuse me. I knew things needed to change in my life, but I didn't necessarily know what it was. But when I came across the idea of joy, I spent 12 years reading about joy and looking for all the good things in my life. I determined to figure out how to heal myself and to share it with others. I spent a lot of time with devotions, affirmations, yoga, and journaling, and sharing thoughts with my friends. I did find the affirmations to be very helpful. If you constantly tell yourself, I am good enough, I am pretty enough, I am tall enough, I am skinny enough, whatever it is that's on your mind, if you keep telling yourself that, you come to believe it. And you need to believe in yourself in order to heal, that's for sure. And because the affirmations meant so much to me during those years, every page in that book, every day starts with an affirmation. And it's relevant to whatever that story is about that day. I do believe devotions, Bible study, whatever it is, whatever higher being you believe in, that spending time, quiet time every day with that is also helpful. Journaling is something I had done, I guess as far back as I almost can remember. And I would write down everything, the good, the bad, the indifferent, whatever happened that day, what made me happy, what made me sad, everything. I just wrote it all down every day. And today I can look back over that and see how far I've come. I can see the prayer requests that I had and how they were answered. It could have been even a year or more later. But journaling is something I do recommend. I think it is immensely healing. Of course, yoga, I do believe stretching our body, and that's a quiet time too. I think that is very healing. So I guess my main things were the devotions, the affirmations, yoga, and journaling. And I think that will take anyone a long ways towards healing.
Yeah, those are key. And in time, of course, you know, as well, which always seems kind of glib when people say it, you know, time heals all wounds, and really time doesn't, but time helps, right? The time apart and an eternal perspective, you know, versus a temporary perspective here on earth. So I'm glad you've been able to heal from that. I'm assuming you've moved on from that. Are you in a relationship now with and solid and all of that?
I am, and that is one of my favorite stories, if I may take just a moment.
All right.
I was single again after my husband left for 21 years. And one night, a girlfriend texted me, and she said, "Do you remember Randy?" And Randy was my high school sweetheart.
Aw.
We had gone our separate ways. It was 45 years later. And she was able to reconnect the two of us. And we were married 2 years ago on the beach.
Aww.
And yes. So after 45 years of not having any idea where he was or what he was doing, I knew nothing about him. We were able to reconnect, and it truly is my fairy tale story.
That's awesome. I think that God honors that in our life. Yes, when we are working on our healing and to be the best that we can be. And healing's important, right? Because we need to give this person the best of us, and so it's really important to work on ourselves and to work on our own healing. And then sometimes I believe as that happens and as we focus on God, then God rewards us with that, with a second relationship. So congratulations on that. That's a
Well,
great story.
thank you. And if I can back up just a second to something you said about time and letting time heal. I think time can go by. Time goes by, but let's say whatever it is that someone needs to heal from, and maybe it's a year or 2 or 5 years later, and they don't feel like they've made any progress. It's not just time. I mean, if someone doesn't make the effort to address it, acknowledge it, ask for forgiveness, forgive the other person, and then try to do the right things to bring themselves out of it. I don't think time alone heals it.
Absolutely. I concur. I agree with that. Did you have a process of self-forgiveness in your journey? Did you have to address that as well?
Well, maybe, and honestly, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
and so a lot of it has become fuzzy. What I did have to address was forgiveness.
Okay.
Is I would keep replaying in my mind, he did this, he did that, he did the other, it was like I kept this list going. And I had to let it all go and just say, it doesn't matter, it's over, and I forgive him.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I realized I had to forgive myself that, I wasn't pristine either, it wasn't perfect. And surely, I played a part in it. So I had to forgive myself for what I had done. So I think forgiveness is a two-way street, but along with the courage to forgive someone else, we have to find the courage to forgive ourselves.
I agree. I think I was paused in my healing for quite a while, unable to forgive myself, until really God spoke to me and said, who are you to put yourself on a pedestal above me? He said, I've already forgiven you, and I was like, whoa, I sure didn't mean to do that. And I had to work on that. But I did realize that when I was able to do that, then I was able to move forward, on my healing.
Sure.
Yeah, it was important. So tell me about your inspiration behind this new book that was just released, this devotional book. Your motivation, was this something that's been on your heart forever? Is this something that, in your head, you were kind of already writing some of these chapters before you got it out there? Tell us the story of that.
Well, I will. First, I will tell you that it was 2 years. It took me 2 years to write the book. It had joy specifically had been on my heart for the 10 years prior to that. But for 40 years, I felt like I had a book, and it was confirmed when one of my best friends said, you should write a book. At that point, I had a lot of things rambling around topics, I'll say. But what really happened, and it's been 12 years ago now, my minister spoke on joy. The verse that he used is be joyful always, which is 1 Thessalonians 5:16. And he cautioned us to watch for joy stealers. His message resonated with my heart that day. And I began my journey to joy. I really didn't know where it would take me. I didn't really know it would take me to writing a book. I just knew that this word joy hung in my heart, and somehow I needed to address it. I did start reading a lot in the Bible and other books about joy. I started collecting all kinds of joy sayings that are all over my house now. And, it was that one message. And several people have asked me more about the message. It was 12 years ago. honestly don't remember much except for the verse and to watch out for joy stealers. Now, if I may elaborate just a little bit about the joy stealers, I feel like he was mostly talking about people and to watch for the people in your life that try to steal your joy. And there are people that really do that no matter what you say, they're going to find fault with it. They are going to tell you everything that's wrong with the world. That, they will sap your joy in a moment. And we know who those negative people in our lives are. But I also found there's other things that steal our joy. And that can be distractions in our life. If you're all over social media constantly, whatever it is, whether it's work, whether it's family members, whatever, there are other things besides people that do steal our joy. And we have to be careful and try to surround ourselves with positivity as opposed to the negativity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And so what's your tactic? Tell me that when you're working on your stuff and a joy stealer comes along, do you have anything immediate that you do to make sure and to get over that, to shuffle that off and say, I'm going to be joyful anyway?
Well, it is a constant thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you've all seen the sayings, choose joy today, but it's really more than today. And it's kind of everything you're doing, every situation, we have to look for the positive side of it. Mm-hmm. I have been in several conversations where people were beaten down, whatever it was, everybody in the group was talking, every story was worse than the story before about how bad something was. But in a comfortable way, without trying to call anybody out, I'll say, but what about this, and try to bring out something good. And sometimes you just have to totally change the topic altogether to find something good. But several times when I've done that, everybody would pick up on the new conversation and run with it. It's hard to do, but we have to constantly try to I'll say cut off, and maybe that's not a very polite word, but we have to try to stop that negativity. And if it went on, I would probably just excuse myself for a glass of water or something, just to remove myself from that. I've had to unfriend, I'll say, people on Facebook just because every word out of their mouth is going to be negative. They're going to be putting down something, no matter what it is. But whatever the topic is, they are the ones that have the reason not to be on board. So it is, we have to kind of have our antennas up all the time. And I won't say that I'm joyful all the time. I try to keep the joy in my heart, and I try to be positive and look for the good in situations, and to spread the love and kindness to everybody I come in contact with.
It sounds like you're very intentional about guarding yourself from it, both in the media and people on social media that tend to be negative, intentionally. Is that accurate?
Yes, and like I say, it's become very close to my heart. I mean, I realize I've spent 12 years studying, reading, writing on this one topic of joy. So it has become very close to me. And the majority of people don't put that much effort in it just because they have other things going on in their lives. But this became my life. And I have since retired, so it really has become my life. But I do think we have to be intentional about choosing joy, and sometimes positivity, is a comparable word there in a way, that if you can put yourselves in positive situations, you put yourself in the situation to find and fill your heart with joy.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I even know people who don't watch the news anymore, on TV because it's very negatively bent and it pulls them down. And some of them, already struggle with either anxiety or depression, in some way. And that's an important self-care, that they put into place for that. So that's very important. So
Yes, and actually, I'm sorry, but actually, I'm one of those people. I was one that was always committed to watch the nightly news. I wanted to see a little bit of local news, and I wanted to see the world news. I wanted to know what was going on around me. But a year ago, when all the pandemic was going on, and I was watching the nightly news, it was gloom and doom. And one day, I just said to my husband, "I can't watch this." And I have not gone back to it. I try to read online the topics, the list of news topics, and find something that's interesting to me that I want to read. But I do think that is a form of self-care, like you said, to take yourself out of that. You can get news. You can get the news that you need through the news outlets and pick and choose what you want to read.
Yes. Good idea on that for sure. So as you were writing the book, is this something that came easy to you? Was there challenges when you were writing it, or was it something that's just always been there and you were able to easily write every day without help with that?
Well, it is an inspirational book, and I tried to focus on encouragement and positivity and just kind of where I was in my life. See, I had just gotten married. I had just sold my business and retired. So I was in a good place, a happy place to spend time doing this. And I felt like in my mind, I had all these stories, all these events, all this stuff. I won't have any problem at all writing this book. Well, I was doing real good until about the last 100 days, and they were not written in order. They kind of were written whatever time they popped into my head, and then I went back and categorized them and ordered them then. But so the last 100 or so stories, it's like, I can't believe I committed to write 365 stories.
That's a lot.
I kept saying that. Oh my gosh, really? Are you really going to write 365 stories? Because as opposed to another book, every day is a brand new topic, a brand new story. And traditional books, fiction books, etc., you just continue the story from one page to the next. What happened next? What happened next? So that was probably my biggest challenge. There were some of the stories that were hard to write. There were some that I felt like I needed to share. I was real careful, even though there are some in there about my former husband. I did not want to throw him under the bus. And I was careful that everything was worded positively. And to go back to your question, yes, the hardest part really was finding my 365 stories. But they're there, and I guess we actually all have more stories in our life than we realize until we try to write them all down.
Right, absolutely. And you mentioned one of the stories before. Is there a couple stories in there that are your favorites that you might want to highlight for us?
Well, there's quite a few about my daddy. And of course, I've already said my daddy was my rock. My daddy was my hero. My daddy was a strong Christian man, and he loved Christmas. So there's a lot of stories that mention my daddy, and the stories start off and kind of tell the story of daddy. And then I try to take that to use his story to inspire others in whatever they can do in a similar fashion, I'll say. Probably my favorite of all favorites about Daddy is one that's at Christmas time, and it's about chocolate-covered cherries and how he thought this was the greatest gift to mankind. And I go on to talk about what I have done with those chocolate-covered cherries through the years. And, at Christmas, it would just break my heart to see them on the shelf. And I started buying them just a box at a time and giving it away. And it ended up that at Christmas, I buy cases of chocolate covered cherries, and I'll take them to nursing homes and hospitals and wherever. And that's the way to spread the joy of my daddy. But I do have one other tiny story I'd like to share with you, and it really is my trademark story, I'll say, about my granddaughter. My sister and I had taken the grandkids to an old gold mine where you could pan for gold. And when we drove up in the parking lot, the field beside the parking lot was knee-high in weeds. Excuse me, in my mind, I am like, oh my gosh, somebody needs to cut these weeds. This doesn't look good. It's a public place, etc. And excuse me, my then 8-year-old granddaughter jumped down the back seat, grabbed my hand, went running over to the field, and she goes, Mimi, look, there's dandelion wishes. What would you do if you had 1,000 dandelion wishes? And so we spent the rest of the day sorting out all of our dandelion wishes. But it was, as an adult, we tend to see the worst in the situation often first. And to me, it was weeds. It needed to be cut. And why didn't somebody take care of this? But my sweet little granddaughter, it was a field of wishes. And it delighted her. Her inspiration, her words flipped my attitude, right then and there. And the innocence of a young child can flip our attitude, but we kind of have to learn to do that on our own too.
That's a beautiful story and a beautiful reminder of the delight of children and how they see things and how we should be childlike, right? And work on that.
Yes.
I think I've heard a stat that says that kids laugh 10 times more than adults. They laugh at everything. They giggle at everything.
I'm sure they do.
Right? Yeah. So working on that in our lives, because I think something happens as we get older. Maybe we get a little more cynical. We've got a lot of life experience and trials and issues that have happened. And then, we lose that childlike wonder. And that's
exactly right.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. What does complaining do? I noticed a story in your book about how complaining will actually rob you of your joy. So even if you started out joyful, if you tend to complain, it robs you of that. And I know we talked about a lot of negative people on social media and media stories, but what is it how does that happen? What is it about complaining that robs us of joy?
Well, first, we become what we think about. So wherever your mind is all day, that is what our body comes to believe. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. The people that we are around form who we are as a person. So it's important to guard our space and to guard our minds and what we fill our minds with. But by complaining, we're filling our minds and our heart with that negativity. If you can find even the smallest piece of positivity in a situation, you can find your joy there. And I tell people to look for moments of joy. Maybe we don't have a joyful day, a joyful week, but what are the moments there that were good moments, positive moments, that we can hang our hat of joy onto that. We have something that we can cling to. And sometimes, you hear, look for the silver lining, look for the good in the situation. It may be something that it's really hard to find something good in that situation. And so my alternative to that is to always have a good situation in your memory that you can pull forward and use. And of course, mine is my grandchildren. And I did have a situation some years ago. I had been working in my yard, and I got what turned out to be, and I did not know, a poisonous plant on my hands. And obviously I wiped my face, and I realized I was losing my vision. And so I focused on a current picture of my grandchildren. And I'm like, if I'm going to lose my vision, that's going to be what I'm going to focus on. Now, my corneas were burned and all this. I did not lose my vision. It turned out okay after, a heart-wrenching day. I was okay, but I still hold those grandchildren and their pictures in my mind. And if things aren't going good, I do know that I can depend on them to cheer me up pretty fast. So if you can't find the joy in your current situation, try to have something stored in your memory bank that you can use to bring back some joy into your life.
What a terrifying situation that must have been with that plant.
Well, it was, and it ended up being a big deal with doctors and police and a lot of other things but like I say, in the end, it turned out okay. And that happens to us a lot. We're in a situation and it does feel severe and heart-wrenching, and we just have to cling to something that we know. Cling to God's love for you. Cling to whatever is close to your heart that will carry you through that until you make it to the other side of that valley where you can go back up on the hilltop again.
Right. Yeah. So I think it sounds like focus is very essential. Where you put your focus. I mean, they talk about even people who are in situations, where they're being tortured, physically or sexually or whatever, some people are able to go away in their mind, to somewhere else. And whether those are positive thoughts or not, the focus is vital to getting us through. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like God keeps saying in the Bible to always be joyful, right? And I think what he means is to always choose joy, always choose to find the good in situations, like we were talking about, like little kids are so good at doing. But I think he had a reason for that. The more I look at that, the more I think it's pretty essential to our mental health that we continue to find the joy in situations, even when it's hard, right?
Yes. And actually, there is a portion of the Bible that Paul wrote, and he was in prison. And he says, I write to you with joy in my heart. And you say, well, okay, he's in prison. And if he can write to the people and feel joyful, then I can do this too.
Yes, I had thought of that example as well. And sorry, my camera keeps going awry, so I keep adjusting that. But I can't imagine, being in prison for things you didn't even do. I mean, and, Joseph too. Joseph was thrown in prison for trying, to rape Potiphar's wife, and it actually didn't even happen. And he was there for months and for years. And, being accused of something that you haven't even done. And Jesus on the cross, right? Same thing. He was being crucified and wrongfully accused, and yet they approached it with grace, and they focused, on the positive. And they said things like, the reason I'm here is so that I can be of service to you, to the other people that were around them. And that's I admire that. I can't imagine the same. I admire that for sure. So how do you encourage people that have been through trauma or abuse or hard times or even divorce? How do you encourage them to move forward and to look for the positive and to find their joy?
I learned through my studies that, and not only studies, but starting to pay more attention to the people in my life, that everybody's not in a situation to choose joy every day. We hear that, and I know I've said that before. We keep hearing choose joy today, and while that's a good thought, if you are in a situation of abuse or trauma, you may not be in that situation. And that is where I go back to looking for moments of joy. I mean, someone puts a hand on your shoulder, someone smiles at you, they bring you a cup of coffee. Even the smallest thing can be turned into a moment of joy, and try to build on that. Try to remember that until the next moment of joy. And anything that you can focus on that is positive will help to heal your heart and show you the path for your journey to joy.
Yes. Amen. And do you find joy in helping others and serving others?
I do. And if I may share for a moment, there are several shelters for women. I do live in what I'll say is a big city in the Southeast, and there are numerous women's shelters here, and they are shelters for women that have been homeless, domestic abuse, many situations. And I am sharing my book with some of these shelters, and particularly some of the smaller shelters that don't have as many women there. I'm trying to provide a book for every woman that is there. As you said, it is a daily book. It's not a book you would read a story, so to speak, and then give a book to the next person to read so that they would pass it around. I mean, it really is designed for every day to give you a little bit of inspiration for that day. So I'm hoping that by sharing my book with women in these shelters, that if they each have their own copy, they can read. It starts with an affirmation and a story and how that relates to being positive and inspired. And then each page has either a quote or a Bible verse at the end. And it's a short read, but through that, can they find the inspiration that they need to get them started on the right foot for that day and carry them forward. So my mission has been to share with these women. There is a second group of women that I have begun working with, and these are women with cancer. And the big hospital in my city has a holistic healing center, and they provide, it is a women's center, but they provide spa and acupuncture and a lot of holistic kinds of things there. So I have also begun the process to share the book with these women that are going through cancer treatments, or maybe have even come out the other side of the battle, that hopefully they would find the inspiration every day. I'm sorry, I should have turned that off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. But that the women would be able to be inspired every day to continue their battle and to continue their battle with some inspiration and joy in their heart. There is one story in the book of a friend who texted me one day and said, I just found out I have cancer. She has breast cancer. And she said, I'm going to face it, I'm going to fight it, and I'm going to do it with my joyful heart. And so the fact that she is facing cancer, facing chemotherapy, surgery, you know, all the other things involved, but yet she was going to be joyful through her battle. I'm like, if she can do it, then I can do it too.
Amen. Well, bless you for being an encouragement for people. Greatly appreciate that. Any upcoming projects you're working on that you want to share with us?
Well, my book just launched a little over a week ago. So now I'm in the process of trying to market it and get it out there, spread the word, get it to women that specifically need it. And I knew I was going to do something else, but I didn't know what. But I have found some inspiration for writing what will probably be a free download on my website, which will be a journal, and it will have the encouragement, the questions to help you walk through your journey to joy, with lots of places to write your thoughts along the way. So that and some type of a workbook, you know, to go with it, because you can read this, you can read a daily inspiration, but you have to take the time to apply it and look at your own life and what is it you need to do to move forward, to make it beneficial and of any value to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be great to have a workbook to go along with it. And I'm a big believer in journaling. You know, that's been huge for my healing and for many other, you know, people that I know of. Gives us a space to really create it and to talk about it, you know, and to express it. And that helps with all the things we talked about as well. You know, the forgiveness part, the self-forgiveness part, the finding your joy helps with all of that. Great. Well, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming. I would encourage everybody to pick up the book. Do be aware it's a year long. So Louise very kindly donated a couple for our ARMS library. And I found myself thinking, oh, they're going to have to check it out for a year at a time. Have all 365 stories, but that's great. And we appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. And if I may leave you with one short quote from Mother Teresa, and she says, where there is love, there is joy. So love the people in your life, let them know you love them, and you'll be more joyful for it, and hopefully the people you love will also feel the joy.
Yes, where there is love, there is joy. Thank you. Great quote. Thank you, Mother Teresa. And thank you, Louise, for your time today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No problem.